Hello everyone and welcome back to another night of League Racing. It's the Apex Online Racing PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars. As always, one of the 10 GT3 leagues we got going on AOR, and it's round 10 of the season out of 12, so there's only 3 rounds to go. We're getting very close to the finish line, and this time we are at Monza for 35 laps with a very late starting time actually, as you will see now as we move out on the track in qualifying. Qualifying session has already gone on for 5 minutes. It's pretty dark, and at a high-speed track like Monza, that's going to be very interesting indeed. Luckily, it's well lit on the front straight, but I'm not quite sure what it's going to be around the rest of the lap. So, I'm Fizzy, as always, and joining me in the commentary box is Yorkie.
Hello, ladies and gents. It's good to see you once again, as always. And yes, Monza in the dark. This will be interesting. I've actually never driven Monza in the dark, so
yeah, I don't think I have either.
Don't know what it's like in terms of actual lighting. Hopefully, it's all right. I mean, it looks quite nice down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, but I'm skipping around the lap a little bit, and it's pretty damn dark around the back of the circuit.
Okay.
Currently watching TonyR gone through a Scaria, and it's no floodlight there. Actually, once it gets onto the straight, the floodlight starts appearing again, the straight down towards Parabolica, but through the actual corner and down the straight towards Ascari, there didn't look to be any lighting whatsoever. So, very interesting indeed.
Indeed.
So, as I mentioned, qualifying session, as usual, we're usually a few minutes late, so the qualifying session has gone on for a bit. And actually, Papand has moved up to provisional pole while we've been doing the intro. TonyR was holding provisional pole for quite a few minutes there at the start of the session, ahead of Perry Gronstra and Jinja. And of course, Kaki is the championship leader and potential championship winner after this race. Oh, as we have a spinning Bentley just in front of Papand there. Through the second chicane, but we'll go through the stipulations in a bit as I try to remember what I worked out kind of in a 30-second period before. But Yorkie, firstly about this track, obviously Monza being one of the most high-speed circuits in the world, probably not at quite a difficulty level that we've been at in recent races with Bathurst and Nordschleife and things like this, but how is this track for you in these cars?
It's pretty good in these cars. It's still a little bit of a challenge because obviously you kind of, with the long straights, you tend to kind of relax a little bit. And it's very, very easy after a long period of time to just relax a little bit too much and kind of, they almost lose your bearings, lose your braking point, especially in the dark as well. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually spot those brake marker boards in a couple of places. The lights do shine them up pretty well, so hopefully the drivers won't be running too deep. But yeah, it's kind of a very stop-start sort of circuit, and getting the exit out of the corners will be the main key factor for making sure you're reaching the maximum speeds that you possibly can going down the straights.
Yeah. Speaking of maximum speeds, Papand actually improved his provisional pole time there by 1/10 of a second. Let's see if TonyR can respond, because he's now coming across the line for another attempt from him. He does not improve on his time. Maybe he was just starting a new lap, I'm not actually sure, but he didn't improve anyway so far on his 1:44.4. So Papand having pole in the bag by 3/10 of a second as it stands, 5/10 from Papand down to Gronstra is in third. Kaki still hasn't set a lap, which is very interesting. He's the only one, apart from us two obviously, who hasn't set a lap. Oh, but we can go on board with him now, because I see he's done a second sector, so he's in the final sector. He's only got the very tricky Parabolica corner to go. So crucial to get the right turning point here and get as early as possible on the throttle, because you're obviously going on to the longest straight on the track, and when it's the longest straight around Monza, that says a lot in terms of how long it actually is. He's got 2 cars ahead of him, but they're too far ahead to be of any hindrance. Maybe even might give it a little bit of slipstream. Let's see what Kaki can do. The championship leader going into this race, and provisional pole going out of that lap. So putting a marker down, even though it took him a while to get out on track, Yorkie, he's certainly shown everyone else what he can do today as well.
Yeah, just under 4/10 of a second quicker than Papand at the moment. He's really setting the mark. Guys that I'm currently looking out for are Kanuma, who's still only doing as fast as a 1:45.1. He's just gone and put in a new first sector time, but even then that doesn't look great.
Papand's gone up to provisional pole.
Ooh,
So
by 800ths of a second.
oh, that's incredible. That is really, really close. You mentioned Kanuma, and for those who haven't been followed in the season, he has kind of been trying to actually find him. There he
He's
is.
on track.
Yeah, 9th at the moment.
Yep.
And also coming towards the Scari, unless my eyes are mistaken. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, Parabolica. So he's about to finish a lap as well. He's obviously the main challenger for Kaki. He has been all through the season. He's not had a great last few races, though. He's really dropped off a little bit, obviously, with a poor race in the Nordschleife, then a no-show at Donington, and then another poor race in Bathurst last time out. So 3 races that has kind of put the gap between him and Kaki to much bigger than what he would have liked, and which is what allows Kaki to have a chance at winning the championship today. If he, I think he needs to beat Kanuma by, well, outscore him by 16 points to guarantee it here, which is basically the stipulation that we have. He also needs to outscore Gronstra by 6 or something like that, because he's 10 further points behind Kanuma. So yeah, I think that's what we got to work with. Kaki obviously has a big gap, but if he has a nightmare last few races, there's still a chance that Kanuma Gronstra could steal the title.
Yeah, indeed. Especially if Kaki gets that 1 point for the qualifying as well. That's 1 point closer to the championship for this race. Was just paying attention to the times. Kanuma did go up to 5th position at the end of that lap, and then Dinder popped himself back up ahead, and now Sula has actually gone up and placed himself up in 4th place. He had his debut last week in Bathurst.
Yeah.
Shows a very strong pace in qualifying, and had very, very good, consistent race as well. I made 1 or 2 mistakes, but he held on for a good result. He got 4th in the end, I believe.
I believe so, yeah. Obviously, with Kaki's disconnection, which
Yes.
Was heartbreaking for him. 3 laps from the end disconnecting, which is one of the main reasons that the championship is still, not very much alive, but still a bit alive.
Yeah.
Going into this race.
It's more alive than it would have been if he finished the race in the position that he was in when he disconnected, which was 1st place. So
yeah, because then it would have been a case of Kanuma and Gronstra having to outscore him today to keep the championship alive, rather than the other way around.
Yep.
So Sula has
Indeed.
dropped down to 5th, 1 position down since when we started, but is coming towards the start-finish rate, so maybe he can improve on that one. Let's see.
Yep, Kanuma's popped himself up into 3rd, right behind Kaki.
Ooh. Well, it doesn't
And then
improve
Gronstra's in 4th.
But yeah, Kanuma's up to 3rd, so that's very interesting. If they're going to start basically next to each other on the track.
Ooh, and I just seen his 1st sector time as well. It was 0.003 of a second off of Kaki's previous 1st sector time.
That's crazy.
On this lap, so Kanuma's starting
Kaki's
to
in the
pick up the
pits, though.
pace a little bit.
Oh, and Kanuma's gone off! Kanuma's gone off! God damn it.
Oh.
Oh, another car just went off into him as well. McLaren there. It might have been Tony, or at least, or maybe Jellyfish, one of those two, I think. Now Tony's back in the pits. Dinda's out on track, Kaki's teammates. Jellyfish is out on the circuit right now. Any other big surprises in qualifying so far?
Rhaegal, Andrex, Fredder, they're still out on track. Looking through surprises qualifying. Not really. Anywhere. Blue Rat's up in 13th. Was a good showing. Mini Black's down in 19th. He seems to be tippled down in 21st. Behind
up
Gibbs,
to 9th.
who's in 20th. Yeah, Tibble seems to be way down. Ever since Monaco, he seems to have had pretty nightmarish season, has Tipple. And the same with Mini Black. Mini Black's not done too well in qualifying, but he's always made the positions back up in the race and got himself back up into the top 10. But it's not the easiest way of going about getting a decent race result, is starting from the back and then working your way up through the field. Makes it entertaining, but certainly not easy.
Very true. So, yeah, I guess we can quickly go through the drivers that aren't here today. That's most of the top drivers in the session so far, with Andrix crashes out there as well, so there's not going to be many cars on the track at this point. Yeah, Brownski, obviously, a familiar name for many. He's decided to just not bother with this track because he feels like he doesn't have a chance in his BMW Z4. Which might be true that he doesn't, but he's still don't really appreciate that reason for not being here. But in terms of other people, we have Silver Arrow is absent. We have Hideaki is absent.
Qualifying results.
And here's the goal! Oh my goodness me! So Papan is on pole! Oh, just ahead of Kaki as well. Kanuma there in a third. Gronstra, Sula, TonyR, Dinja, Carson, Central, Jellyfish rounding up the top 10. And then you can see the rest as we scroll down. Wow, that came quickly. Okay.
Good save. Good save.
Here we go!
Here we go.
Here we go. Here's the grid for round 10 out of 12 at Monza in the night. Here in the PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars, Apex Online Racing, of course, hosting it, and the lights are out, and away we don't go because it's a rolling start. So, well, we will go
Every
away.
time.
Yeah, we will go away into the spectator box, of course, and take our good time to find the camera of the lead car, which is Papan, of course, on pole position for this one. Has already got a massive gap. It's pulling away from Kaki, but. Yeah, obviously, I was going to be taking it nice and easy for this manual rolling start. Papan leading the field round. And then we shall get the action underway in just a moment. And of course, eyes are on the championship. Obviously for Papan, it'll be all of his thoughts will be on just trying to get the winner after showing such good pace in qualifying. But of course for Kaki, Kanuma and Gronstra behind him, it'll be some thoughts on this championship. Kaki just basically needing a strong, solid finish to make himself comfortable going into the last two rounds, whereas Kanuma and Gronstra just need to try and beat him by as many points as possible, which is not an easy task. That's what I have to try. And by winning the race, of course, that would be the best way to do it. I'm sure we'll see a very feisty battle there for the win. Hopefully, between all those Force drivers that I mentioned.
That'll be a very, very interesting to watch the start as well and see how they approach it. I imagine Kaki is going to be really quite conservative. Is obviously he wants to survive this race, but Kanuma and Gronstra, I imagine, are probably going to try and push it a little bit harder and be a little bit more aggressive. I would say that Kanuma's probably in the best position. When you're in second place, it's pretty difficult to read what the person in first is doing without being too far back. So you're kind of immediately at a disadvantage there, whereas the person in third is right behind the lead car and can read him a lot better. So
yeah,
you may possibly see Kanuma trying to get the jump on Kaki into turn one. Something that I did notice towards the end of qualifying as well, which we hadn't picked up on previously, was Centro managed to get 9th place in the Mercedes AMG, which is a solid result for him.
Yeah.
It's good to see him.
That car's been struggling this season.
Yeah, further up the field, whereas in previous races he's been a little bit further back. And that is a cool camera angle right there, seeing all those cars lined up very neatly.
So much light and so much colors on these cars. That is beautiful. As we're now just rounding Parabolica onto the main straight, and the action is about to begin here. Monza should provide a lot of overtaking opportunities, of course, and hopefully that means a lot of action for us to witness here today. Papan now will decide when to put his foot down until we get to the line. Will he try to play a surprise? Here we go then! The race is underway, and as you said, Kanuma has reacted better to it than Kaki. It's already up to second place. Gronstra has already good reaction there behind. So Kaki might just drop down to fourth position if Gronstra can take this advantage of having the inside line. Kaki might try to hold it on the outside of the first epic, and they're going to be sabotaged on. There's slight contact between them. They're jumping over the curbs a little bit as well. Kaki's lost out the most, but still holds on to fourth place after that slight contact with Gronstra. And there's a couple of cars on the grass back there as well, but very feisty, but mostly clean there as we got Centro side by side with the McLaren there of Dinja coming towards the second chicane. And it's very hard to see with all these lights in our faces what exactly is going on. There's a car cutting it. Who was that, Yogi?
It was Gronstra who went across the second chicane, braking a little bit later there. He's gone and lost a whole load of positions. He's down at 8th. Now probably going to drop down into 9th place because he picked up the cut track penalty. BMW on his outside. He did manage to get that pretty good start and follow Kanuma through the. Like you said, there was a little bit of contact between the two, but both of them managing to somewhat get away with it. It was a Z4 that dropped onto the grass on the exit of turn 2 on the run down towards turn 3, but he's rejoined somewhere in the pack, and Gronstra is down in 9th place at the moment. He's got Dindo in front of him, and Centro's made a pretty good start, gaining 2 places and up into 7th. He's now got a little bit of a train forming up behind him as the guys start to come down to the final corner, Parabolica, to begin the next lap. As Dinder's gone and sent a move up the inside of Centro and make contact between the two there. This is giving Gronstra a pretty good run. Also Andrex, I believe, is trying to cash in on this as well. He's got a pretty decent exit coming out of the two. A number of cars going side by side. Centro still holding on to 7th for the moment, and Dinder has dropped down into 10th place. A little bit of weaving going on there between a number of guys, getting very, very close. It's going to be really, really tight coming down here into the first corner. Will they be able to make it through cleanly? A number of guys giving each other plenty of room. Centro and Gronstra getting very, very close, but it looks like that Gronstra has just about managed to get the exit and the drive coming out of the second turn to slip himself up into 7th place.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you commented on that. We kind of had a double battle going on there down the straight. What I was actually watching while you were doing that lovely commentary on the other battle was the battle for 4th, when it was nearly 3 wide. The two McLarens of TonyR and Jellyfish, the two teammates, is kind of swarming Sula there, and TonyR did manage to pass him. Sula in 5th and Jellyfish in 6th. And yeah, Centro now down in 9th position, and there's a McLaren on the inside into the first Lesmo as well. That would be Dindo, of course. That is not a usual place to overtake, of course. Very high speed corner. Same with the second Lesmo onto the back straight, coming up towards Ascari. I think Centro might have had a slightly poor exit there. I think it touched the outside of the track slightly. And it's going to be pretty much side by side coming up towards Ascari, but Centro surely with that inside line will have an advantage here. Not the heaviest braking zone, but still pretty high speed entry, of course, into the corner, and Centro manages to hold on to that one nicely indeed. Whew. Already lots of action, just quickly double checking that nothing's going on in front. Papan looked to be taking a very tight end exit out of Parabolica there, and Kanuma was close there in the middle part of the corner, but I think Papan managed to get nicely on the power in the end and keep that car nicely ahead. TonyR still in 4th ahead of Sula, and then we have got Blue Rat in 9th. That is very impressive from him. And Maisie.
Sula's having a bit of a look down the inside of TonyR coming into the first turn, but isn't quite going to be able to get the move done. Just basically presenting himself in the mirror. Sorry for cutting you
Where
off
has Centro gone? He was just defending from 9th a moment ago. And now he's
back at a lot of places.
Yeah. Literally, the only part we didn't see.
18th place. 18th place.
The only part we didn't see.
Way down the. He's dropped down to the back of the field.
The only thing we didn't see with him was Parabolica, so something must have happened with him at Parabolica. Maybe an incident. That would have been surely an incident with Dindo's also dropped down to 16th place. That's the only logical reason I can come up with Dindo and Silver Arrow coming together in some sort of incident. And now Tipple is passing a car back here as well. That was with Dindo as well, actually. As we have a battle going on for 12th position. Also, there's battles literally everywhere. It's impossible to know where to look here as Nostra is on the grass. Manages to save it without spinning, but obviously loses a lot of time and a place to Klawutski there. Fred is the man in 12th. Maisie just defending for 10th right now. And Jesus Christ. Sula and Tony still close. Yorkie, I just don't know where to look anymore.
I was watching Rhaegar and Maisie, but they've kind of just settled themselves back down again. Gronstra still chasing Jellyfish. I think Sula and TonyR could be the closest battle at the moment. Maybe Papan and Kanuma?
Yeah, we have Kanuma in slipstream range potentially, and obviously, I don't know. The Aston Martin said to be a very good run here because it's very fast on the straight. How is it compared to the rough though? I'm not quite sure.
The rough is a pretty quick car in a straight line as well, but I do think the Aston Martin will have the edge, although Kanuma was very conservative there coming into the braking zone. He got on the brakes quite a bit earlier than Papan did, and that kind of probably would have been a double-edged sword in a way, with obviously the slipstream giving you slightly higher top speed when you actually come into the braking zone itself, but also you're running in the dirty air, so therefore your braking power isn't quite as good as if you had no car in front of you, but still, Kanuma is looking to be a little bit quicker than Papand at the moment, although he has dropped back off a bit. He was 1/10 quicker on the second lap and then 3/10 quicker on the previous lap, so Kanuma showing some early signs of some strong pace, but Kaki's holding on, lurking there in the background, just watching the two guys up in front of him. And you got TonyR, obviously Sula, Jellyfish, and then Gronstra trying to work his way back up towards the sharper end of the pack.
Yeah. So I was just watching a nice little bumper camera with Freda at the back of Maisie, but no move made there. Papand this time. Did a similar range in front of Kanuma as there were this time on the previous lap as well. Kanuma could not get close enough to make the move then. Can he do it now? It's really, for this straight, all about the exit of a Parabolica there. Just line yourself up. And of course, that is what Kanuma needs to nail, and maybe hope that Papan goes slightly wide or has a little moment on the traction zone. He's giving him a look in the mirror again, but also this time quite conservative on the brakes. It's really, once they kind of approach the apex, Papan seems to gain quite a lot of time. It looks like Kanuma was very close at the start of the braking zone, but then at the end of it, Papan just had him way covered.
Yeah, I think the roof is better on its brakes anyway, but it seems a lot more stable just turning in. The very first apex, Kanuma seems to be going really quite slow into that turn, whereas Papan seems to be carrying, visually anyway, a little bit more entry speed going in through there and into the second part. Imagine Kanuma's probably just trying to line himself up for a decent exit, basically just sacrifice the speed earlier on so he can get the second part opened up a little bit more to try and get on the power a little bit earlier, but kind of seems like at the moment it's costing him a little bit more time than it is actually gaining him time reaching the top speed at the other end of the straight for the second chicane.
Yeah, with the Ascara now. Nice, well, obviously important to hit all the apexes there. And then he can try to maybe grab a bit of slipstream. We can try and see if he is closing at all, maybe tiny bit closer towards braking for Parabolica, and let's look for any potential differences in the lines. Papan getting it turned in a little bit tighter on the exit. You can see Kanuma having to go a bit more wide on the entry, but I think in terms of speed off the corner it's pretty similar between the two of them. Can Kanuma be close enough this time? It's basically, I think we're gonna see a repeat here. To be honest, it's literally, they're so close on times, and again Kanuma just shows himself in the mirror and then decides that he was too far back, which is probably a wise move, but really he needs to get past Papan. If he actually is faster than him, that it looks like in certain parts of the track at least, then he, well, kind of gotta try. Just find an opening, get that move done. Because, I don't know, does the dirty air affect the tires a lot on this game, Yorkie?
It can do to an extent. Obviously, it decreases your aero efficiency, so you're more likely to scrub the tyres for understeer, maybe a little bit of oversteer as well, depending on how you've got the rear of the car set up. But that in itself kind of then obviously affects the tyre wear. Obviously, being behind another car, it will wear the tyres a little bit quicker, especially if you're also trying to push to keep with the other car. And we know that the Aston is also quite bad on its tyres. I'm not entirely sure whether this will be a zero-stop race or whether it will be a single pit stop for these guys. But I imagine, for Kaki and Kanuma at least, they're probably going to be watching each other to see what the other person does and seeing who's going to essentially blink first.
Yeah.
And then decide from there as to what they're going to do with their strategy.
Yeah. And as we now have a potential fight back from Sula against TonyR, who passed him a couple of laps ago. He did show himself in the mirrors a little bit up the inside of Parabolica, but then didn't seem to have the best exit. Obviously that kind of put him on a tighter entry. But now though, he's still in a nice bit of slipstream from that McLaren, that massive Bentley. eating its way closer and closer. Will Sula go for it now into turn 1? He's going for the inside line, trying to be as late as he can on the brakes, but TonyR has got him covered on the brakes just about and manages to get it turned in front of the Bentley. So, nice close driving from those as well, even though it was not quite side-by-side through the chicane this time around. Jellyfish also very close ahead of Grunstrauss, of course, having to fight back after that cut track penalty on the second chicane, all the way back on the first lap of the race. We are now on lap 8, unless I'm mistaken, or 7.
8.
8, yeah. So, a few nice little scraps going on. I think Sula is certainly
close.
the closest battle, because he's basically pushing TonyR through the Lesmos. Might have even been a slight bit of pushing there, but now
he's got a very good run.
He's got a fantastic run.
I think Tony is just giving up the corner there, and he's going to give up Ascari as well and just let Sula go for the moment.
Maybe strategic?
Maybe? No,
or maybe not. Oh.
Okay, so he's got the straight line speed over Sula when they're side by side. Obviously, the Bentley's a much bigger car anyway, therefore it has a fair bit more drag than the McLaren does straight off the bat. But yeah, I was expecting Sula to kind of slip up the inside there under the braking zone, but it didn't quite work. I thought Tony was going to give the position to Sula and let him run in front for the moment, so he can just run his own race. But yeah, and Sula, he's got a pretty decent exit coming out of Ascari. Sorry, not Ascari, Parabolica, right underneath the rear wing of TonyR as they run down towards turn 1. He's trying to pick up the slipstream and try and get more before pulling out alongside to make sure that he can get the move done. Both of them braking at pretty much the same time. TonyR this time is going to have to give up the position, but Sula, I think, kind of chicane there. Yes, he has gone and got a cut track penalty and has lost out because of that. TonyR did give him room, but I think Sula underestimated how fair TonyR is, if that's the right way of saying it. And yeah, kind of jumped across the inside curve there, and has actually gone and unfortunately lost out quite massively because of that.
Yeah, obviously I don't think that was an attempt from Sula at passing him with a corner cut. He was obviously trying to just be safe enough that he left enough room to avoid contact there, but obviously TonyR did leave him enough room, so he wouldn't have needed that corner cut really. So that will be frustrating for Sula that he allowed that to happen. He probably didn't have in his head, to be honest, going into it, that cut track penalties was a thing. But that's what he has to live with now. Unfortunately, that has put a pause to that particular battle for the moment. Kaki seems to be catching up a little bit, doesn't he? Yes.
Previous lap,
caught
yes.
2 tenths on Papan, 4 tenths on Kanuma on the previous lap. And you can see, this could turn into a very tasty 3-way scrap in a second, of course. Kaki, the championship leader, Kanuma second place in the championship, just ahead of him, and Papan just coming out of nowhere with extreme pace here at Monza, trying to get his first race win of the season, actually. Yeah, it would have been his first race win of the season. Surprisingly, because if those of you remember all the way back to round 2 at Sakito, when Papan was leading going into the final lap and then ran out of fuel. So he could have been a winner already, but some errors on the fuel calculation stopped that from happening.
Yeah, I imagine he's made damn sure to get his fuel calculations spot on ever since then. But I'm wondering if tyres maybe at this stage, you're going to lose some performance in and around now, around about lap 8, 9, 10. They do drop off a tiny bit. But I'm wondering if where Kaki has kind of just been holding station and hovering back a little bit, just watching these guys, that he's preserved his tyres a little bit better, and the last lap, maybe possibly this next one, if he does close up a little bit more, could be because he's got his tyres in slightly better condition than Kanuma in front of him, who's obviously been kind of following Papan relatively closely, and just seeing that Kanuma, he was there on the apex, but it wasn't quite as tight to it as Papan was, and it looked like Kaki was a little bit closer than Kanuma was as well. So be interesting to see how this will play out over the next lap or so, and whether Kanuma's just kind of calmed down a little bit and decided to hold back from Papan and just kind of lurk there in his mirrors rather than really pressurize him.
Yep. So depends on whether that's a good tactic though, because if I was Kanuma, I would be very wary of Kaki closing in from behind. And in terms of this duo out in front, I would prefer to be the car ahead when Kaki catches up, so that I wouldn't have to deal with him. That would be my thinking anyway if I was in that situation. So, but maybe Kanuma just doesn't have what it takes right now to you know, find himself a way past.
Well, we're saying this, but it looks like he's actually getting quite a fair bit closer to Papand than he has been. He was actually 3 tenths up on Kaki's previous time and 4 tenths up on Kaki's previous time, 3 tenths up on Papand's time. So, gap has shifted a little bit, with Kanuma getting closer to the back of Papand. So maybe Kanuma is starting to think about trying to attack Papand and see if he can get past and take that first position.
Yeah, certainly getting close towards Ascari. It's not the best place for a dive bomb, because even the first apex area is a relatively high speed. You have to get in nice and kind of modulate the throttle a little bit just to make sure you don't understeer off the track on the exit there. And then keep the foot in all the way down to Parabolica. Get that turn-in point, get that throttle applied, and Kanuma again super close, but can he get close enough on this straight? This is the one, this is the main overtaking spot, of course, and once again Kanuma well wide on the middle part of the corner compared to Papand, and maybe a little bit closer than he's been on some of the other occasions we've seen it. But can he get close enough as we get down towards it? Yes, Papand for the first time has felt the need to go defensive, and Kanuma will try to break him on the outside line. It might be side by side through the chicane. He's trying, and Papand leaving room on the exit as well. Here we go for the lead of the race, and Papand though has nailed the exit, and this of course has allowed Kagi to catch up right away with those two cars going side by side and losing themselves time through the first chicane. I'm sure Papand wouldn't have liked that, but he had no choice but to go defensive there from Kanuma, because he obviously doesn't want to lose the lead. And once again Kanuma's going to be pressuring him into the second chicane now. Will they try to go side by side here as well? That's going to be very difficult. Woo! Papand manages to close the door somehow without contact, but Kaki might try to take advantage. He's going to have a run on Kanuma on the outside into the first Lesbo. Can Kanuma hold on to this attack from Kaki? And he does. He does. It's still the same order as he started at the start of this lap. This is incredible battling hierarchy.
This is really good and really interesting to see these three guys go at it. I imagine Kaki is probably wanting to dive in on this, but something is probably telling him to hold back a little bit and let these two guys in front of him have their own little fight. Kanuma's going to be very tight here on the inside of Ascari. They're all just about managing to get it slowed down. Kaki's very close to the back of Kanuma. Papand is still holding on for the moment with the lead, but Kaki is going to have the slipstream here, the double slipstream as well, because obviously Kanuma's going to be hunting for Papand's to give him that extra straight line speed, and you can see the speed difference between the roof and also the Aston Martin, but the Aston Martin has to get so much earlier onto the brakes to get the car slowed down. This time though, Kanuma is a fair bit tighter coming out the exit of the Parabolica, and Kaki is there lurking as well. Surely this time Kanuma is going to have the straight line speed. It looks like the Papand's going slightly defensive, but it's going to give Kanuma the inside line this time round. Will they go side by side once again? Papand is so much later on the brakes than Kanuma. Has actually outbraked Kanuma as well and squeezed him a little bit on the inside. Kaki's trying to cash in on this and has got side by side with Kanuma coming through the second part. Both of them coming out on the traction. There's a back market there as well, just about manages to get out of the way, but for the moment Kanuma is still holding on to second, but they have lost some ground to Papand, with Papand outbraking Kanuma round the outside and giving a little bit of a squeeze with Kanuma on the inside of that first corner.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was sure that was Kanuma's was going to have that position, but Papand so much better on the base, and Kaki now on the inside this time for the Lesmos. Can Kanuma do what Kaki couldn't on the previous lap? With a slight contact, Kanuma's off onto the gravel trap. Can he save it? He saved it from spinning off into a wall there, but has lost quite a bit of time through that. I don't know. It was hard to see in the dark how much room Kaki actually did leave him there. He certainly looks to be squeezed a tiny bit off into the gravel. Kaki maybe understeering a little bit there as well. It's such a tricky place to go side by side. And first position change in this three-way scrap. goes to Kaki, getting ahead of his championship rival Kanuma. Very, very crucial indeed. And of course that scrap has given Papand as well ahead a little bit of breathing space. But now that Kaki has got Kanuma out of the way, I'm sure in the next few laps he'll be trying his very, very best to close that gap to Papand, and he'll have to be very wary of the challenge that is about to arrive.
Yep, Kanuma's not going to be too best pleased with that either. He's been trying so hard to get past Papan for quite a number of laps now, and to try and get past but fail, and then Kaki have come up from you from a few seconds back and then come and take that second position away. He's not going to be too best pleased, but he has closed back up with Kaki now. Kanuma in the Aston certainly seems to have that straight line speed over the other cars, although he looked, I don't know if that was me and a tiny little bit of lag there, but he looked to be slightly slow coming out
Yeah,
of
he was.
that first chicane there.
Definitely was.
And he just clipped the curb on the inside, which spun up the rear tyres. But yeah, this gap has kind of spaced out a little bit. I kind of want to jump back to see if there's anyone else that we can pick up in
Kanuma
the race, but at the same time it's...
has clipped the curb on the second chicane as well. Kanuma has... had a messy start to this lap. He was so close to Kaki going over the line, but now first two chicanes haven't gone his way. So he needs to he just needs to maybe still a little bit hot in the head after that trip into the gravel, and he needs to just calm himself down, start focusing on the lap times again. And as we've seen earlier in the race, he has the pace to catch up to Papand. But now, of course, it's a much tougher job with Kaki in between them. So, for the first time in a while, we have these guys space out a little bit, Yorkie, so I think we can now take the opportunity to kind of dive down and see what the rest of the field is doing. TonyR is kind of by himself now, after Sula had a cut-track penalty earlier. Jellyfish's teammate in 5th, not far ahead of Gronstra, but he still hasn't found a way through, surprisingly, I guess, maybe, considering where he was in qualifying and where he's been in many of the races over the season. But of course, in the BMW Z4, the car that... he's seen to be at a disadvantage around here, given the straights and the lack of straight line speed that does have. Basically, Brownski's reason of not being here. Even though Gronstra is clearly showing that it's possible to do well, because he's up in 6th and qualified in 4th. And then we have Sula in 7th, with Andrex pressuring him. Blue Rat, of course.
Gronstra may have a look at Jellyfish. Yeah, no, not quite. It was there in the slipstream, and it was kind of equal pace. And knowing how good the brakes are on the Z4, I thought he might send a move up the inside, but it didn't quite work. Yeah, he has pretty good movable exit. He's still there, but he doesn't quite have the acceleration of the McLaren.
It's frustration with the Z4. You get into such a good position after the corner, and just you can do nothing with it sometimes. It's really annoying.
Exactly that. So. He basically, McLaren jumping over the curbs there as he hit the big orange sausage curb, and Gronstra actually running out wide there coming out the exit of that second chicane. But yeah, I think we'll continue to dive back down the field like you're saying. So Sula was in 7th, Andrex in 8th, Blue Rat up into 9th. It's a solid position.
In the top 10. Of course, remember back at Donington, wasn't it? When his massive charge towards the top 10 and he screwed it up on the final lap. The spin of the chicane. And he finished 11th in the end, which was his best result of the season, but now he's on course to even better that. Yep.
But he's got Rhaegar not too far behind. Amazing, 11th. Nostra 12th. Dinder is back down in 13th place. Fredo in 14th. Centro's up into 15th. It looks like he had a tiny little bit of damage there on the side of his car. The only way I was able to see it was the car shot up a spit of flame, and obviously that lit up the side. And I saw a couple of scrapes there on its left-hand side, but battles have seemed to spread out a fair bit more through the back of the field. Ycoms Tipples in the pits. Gibbs retired. So is Klawitsky.
Gibbs is retired.
So is Mini Black.
Yeah, okay. So
a few retirees.
Cars then in the pits. Retired from the race. Lost car still out on track though, providing the action. And let's have a look at the previous lap times. Yeah, you can still see that the top 3 pretty much in the class of their own. And Kanuma has responded actually. He's responded to that messy lap, well, before the previous one, by setting the fastest lap out of the top 3 on the previous one. Not of the race, but Konuma does also have the fastest lap of the race, interestingly enough.
It does, yeah.
So, that's good to see. Konuma now finding his rhythm again. And hopefully we can see another... what I'm hoping, of course, as a neutral spectator, I'm hoping that these guys will bunch up again so we can have what we just had a moment ago all over again.
Yep, that would be very, very nice. Indeed. Whereabouts are we in the race in terms of its overall length?
15.
16 out of 35, so
Yeah.
we're coming to the halfway mark. If there's any chance of a pit stop, he'll be in the next couple of laps.
Oh, and Grant's just passed Jellyfish. Guess we missed that one. And he's got a big gap to Jellyfish. So Jellyfish might have made a mistake, actually. There, because that's just not the case of being passed, because he's way back from Grunster now as well. And now just ahead of Sula.
Yeah, Sula was closing up on the back of Jellyfish reasonably quickly as well down that back straight, so I think Jellyfish may have had a moment somewhere along the line in the Ascari chicane. Sula now with the slipstream as they come down the start-finish straight to begin the next lap. Sula's moving to the outside, Jellyfish is going to have the inside. They both come onto the brakes, Jellyfish squeezing Sula a little bit. Oh my god, the BMW Amazing completely outbraked himself. Went into the side of Sula there. The BMW doesn't have ABS, which is probably the main cause for that. Sorry, yeah, Andrex, not Maisie.
Yeah.
Andrex slotting down into 10th place. He obviously would have picked up a track penalty for that. He let Sula go back through, as obviously that was his own mistake. But that slipped. I was going to say Blue Rat up into 8th.
Yeah, but Rhaegar's fast.
Trading positions with Rhaegar, yeah. So Blue Rat's still in 9th place. Rhaegar is now just in front of him in 8th place. But that was a little bit unfortunate, as that's going to cost obviously an Andrex an awful lot of time, but it's also cost Sula a fair amount of time, who was probably not even thinking about Andrex behind him and was more focusing on trying to go around the outside of Jellyfish into turn 1.
Yeah, an unusual mistake, I guess we can say. And of course, Blue Rat now, despite being fast, is still in 9th as a result of that, but of course Andrex right there behind him, and will surely be hoping to make amends, get some of those positions back. Let's give him Jellyfish some breathing space at least from Sula, or at least just 8/10 or so. Not quite, not much of a breathing space, but a little bit. Anyway, Gronstra, that is a breathing space. Gronstra pretty much by himself. Same with Tony. Konuma, as he's continued his catch-up drive, yes, taking another 3/10 out of Kaki, another 4/10 out of Papand on the previous lap. But clearly showing he has the pace. It just didn't work for him in that battle before. He just drew the short end of the stick, I guess you can say, in the actual on-track battle. And of course, it's two very different things. Pace, in terms of just driving the track, is one thing. But then actually, the racecraft that is required to make the moves and overtakes stick is another, and that is what Konuma will be trying to do a little bit better if he manages to catch up to Kaki and Papan once again in his race, which of course we hope he will, because that will be very exciting indeed. But we have to give it to Papan so far. He's really matching up with the two championship contenders so far in this race, showing incredible pace as well. So I guess we'll just see what happens, and hopefully these guys will all stick to the same strategy as well, given how close they are.
Yep. I was going to say, Papan, very, very solid performance so far. He's, like I said, bang on pace with the two guys around him. Obviously, Konuma's slightly quicker than the other two at the moment by a few attempts. And this time round, he's only a 10th quicker than Kaki. But Papand, exactly the same pace as Konuma. I think Konuma just needs to be a little bit more trusting on the turn-in of the Aston Martin. The turn-in on the Aston Martin is good anyway. So it's more the mid-corner where they're trying to get the understeer. But it just seems to be really slow in that first part of the first chicane. But it's working everywhere else for him near enough, certainly in terms of straight line speed. He's got massive straight line speed over the other cars on the straights.
We have missed Blue Rat repassing, actually.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wait, that's Jellyfish has dropped down. So Jellyfish has had another problem. He's gone from 6th to 9th for some reason. So Jellyfish, maybe another mistake somewhere.
Sula's dropped the position and Rhaegor's now in front of Sula.
Interesting.
Maybe they're coming together?
That could very well be the case.
Yeah.
It's, of course, unfortunately we don't have the ability to show any replays here. So we just have to speculate, that's all we can really do. But we have a nice little train here now. The Rhaegor train. From 6th and down to 9th. That maybe in 10th actually. That's because 10th, Andrik's down in 10th at the back of it. There's a 5-car train. I think we'll stay on board with this a bit and just see. Try to not miss any more potential incidents and action that these guys are providing at the moment. As Blue Rat's getting very close to Sula, coming towards Ascari, but deciding to not do anything crazy just yet. Of course, when we get down to the main straight, then surely one of these cars in the train will have a run on someone.
Yeah, I think Blue Rat had a pretty good run on Sula there. Yeah, Jellyfish running out wide, coming out the exit of Ascari. Andrex closing up on the back. Blue Rat seems to have really, really good straight line speed. He had a good run coming out the second of the Lesbos and was closing up onto the back of Sula on the run down towards Ascari. And he was going to get moved to the outside, but then Sula moved across a little bit late, I would have said, to cover off the move, and Blue Rat probably would have had to jump out of the throttle to get out of it. But this time he's got the run once again. Blue Rat moving to the inside of Sula, this time coming into the braking zone. Sula braking just that tiny little bit later. Got around the outside of Blue Rat there as well. Very, very good driving between those two drivers, and also Jellyfish as well, who got pretty close in the apex of the corner as well, all avoiding making contact with each other. But this is quite an exciting train here, Fizzy.
It really is. Klaasen's retired, apparently, according to Brownsky in the chat. I'm also slightly, as we've got... Oh, wow! I didn't even see that through the lights. Oh, is there contact there? And Sula's on the gravel. Oh, my word.
Yep. I kind of half missed it, half saw it as well.
Yeah.
It was a little bit weird.
Well, they tried to go side by side, didn't they? It looks like into the corner, and it was just a little bit too tight for the boat to fit through there, obviously with the massive curbs as well, which you don't want to hit. And then Sula ended up wide in the gravel, lost speed on the exit, and dropped all the way down behind Andrex as well. He's going to try to retake it straight away, though, potentially on the inside into Ascari. I just think he's a tiny bit too far back. He's going to have to back out of that one, surely. Yeah, he does indeed. But yeah. I just got confused by a comment in the chat saying there's not been much action in this race. So I'm not sure what he's been watching, but he must have joined after we had that incredible three-way fight for the lead just a few laps ago. And now we're going to have more side-by-side potentially into Parabolica.
Yes, Andrex having a little bit of a look down the inside of Jellyfish, but backing out of it slightly under braking, although Jellyfish gives them the room on the exit, so they're going to be side-by-side this time round. At the moment, Jellyfish is the one with the line because he's following the slipstream of Blue Rat. Now Andrex tucks in underneath. Guys are going to be relatively close when they come down towards this first turn. Who's going to be the later of the late breakers? Hard to see when Andrex gets on the brakes there. The brake lights didn't really light up, but Blue Rat looked to be a little bit slow. Jellyfish got awfully close to the back of his roof. And these 4 drivers are still very, very close. This is actually allowing Rhaegor to disappear off into the distance as well, and kind of spread himself out away from these guys. Just having a very quick look. Knuma.
Yeah, we need to check on the leaders just quickly.
I just had a look now. Knuma had a pretty poor lap on the previous.
Oh, he lost 2 seconds on the previous lap.
Yeah.
Why has he lost 2 seconds on the previous lap?
Sure. What happened there? He must have. I don't know. That gap looks not much more than 2 seconds.
Is he starting to struggle with the tires? Of course, no one has pitted yet. We're over halfway point in the race. Aston Martin, as far as I'm aware, is one of the cars that tend to struggle on tires. Is he going to be able to go to the end? That's the question.
I think he will. I think he may have just made a mistake somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
I was going to say the gap kind of looks in and around 2 seconds, maybe slightly more. But yeah, there must have been a mistake made by himself. Going to jump back up to the battle was ongoing before they go spread out a little bit whilst we came away from them. So something's happened along the line because Blue Rat's pulled away a little bit from Jellyfish. Jellyfish has pulled away a little bit from Maisie and Sula. Maisie, Andrex and Sula.
Andrex has not pulled away though.
It's very, very close.
Yeah, Andrex has definitely not pulled away, and Sula with that Bentley trying to grab the slip from the BMW M3. He's surely gonna be too far back unless he's gonna be super brave, and Andrex is gonna have to leave him in a little room. He's gone across the corner there as well. This time has escaped the cut track penalty. That must have been so close. He really jumped over that sausage cup on the inside, and they're still going to be side by side though. Andrex getting a better exit out of the chicane, and he's going to go round the outside a long way round. Of course, it is the straight, but it's the Curva Grande, a long flat out turn, and Andrex claiming the inside line back for the second chicane to retake the position. Feisty racing from these two, and a little bit squirmy on the exit there as well from Andrex, which has allowed Sula to get back up the inside for the Lesmos. We've seen some contact here with side by side again, but this time Andrex backs out of it instead of trying to hold it around the outside. Maybe on the inside for the second Lesmo. Oh, and there's contact this time though, and Sula's in the gravel again, and Andrex follows him. But does he take that position? Does Andrex feel that that was his own fault? He does slot back in behind. Whether that was intentional or not, I'm not sure. It seemed a little bit of the mistake from my view anyway, to try and go up the inside of the second Lesmo. But of course, if he was fully alongside, which it was a little bit difficult to see, then he would have had his right to try. But of course, this incident has led his teammate right up to the back of him, Maisie, and then Jinder following as well. So we've gone from a 5-way train for 6th to now a 4-way train for 9th.
Yeah, very, very interesting there. It was actually really, really good racing. Sula lined himself up very, very nicely coming out of that second chicane. He just opened up the second part, which allowed him to get a slight switch back on Maisie coming out the exit, which got him up the inside for the first of the two Lesmos. But Andrex did the little switch back through that first Lesmo as well, which put him on the inside for the second Lesmos. He's now actually picking up a slipstream and got quite a bit of straight line speed over Sula as they come down towards turn 1 now. I'll jump back to the talking about the previous battle as the guys are getting very, very close. Dinda trying to go around the outside
nearly double too wide.
And the two teammates of Maisie and Andrex are going side by side. This could be 3, no, not quite 3-way.
If you see 3 wide through Curva Grande, I'll eat my hat if I had one.
It almost looked like it was going to be that if the Bentley struggled with traction, but it seemed to get a half decent run coming out the exit of that. Andrex is on the outside for this second chicane. Coming under braking, he gives the room there to Sula on the inside, but it looks like he's managed to step himself up into 9th for the moment, and Sula doesn't have the run that he had on the previous lap to be able to send it up the inside. It looked like Andrex turned him very early there to try and cover that defensive manoeuvre off, but that has gone and brought Maisie right up onto the back of Sula's Bentley. This time though, they're all cleanly through the second of the two Lesmos, and Dindo's also actually gone and dropped off the back of this, coming out of the first chicane earlier when they all initially bunched up and Dindo was trying to move around the outside of Maisie. I believe he got cut off by Maisie on the second part. But very quickly going back, I was going to say Andrex looked like he had at least part of his car up alongside Sula, probably about half, or a third to a half a car length up alongside Sula, so reasonably close, but I don't think Sula quite expected Andrex to be making a move down the inside into that second Lesmo.
Racing incident, probably what that will come down to. Obviously, second Lesmo is such a tricky one to go side by side through because the car on the inside will always end up understeering towards the exit, and the car on the outside obviously wants to leave as little room as possible to be able to actually get around the corner as well. And speaking of getting around the corner, there's contact again. Maisie has gone very deep on the brakes, not quite managed to leave Sula enough room there, and that has pushed them both off the track. Both have managed to hold on from Dinder though, but now this has given Andrex a breathing space. It feels like kind of the battling is just moving further down the field. Everyone kind of giving one more car, you know, the chance to pull away, and eventually battle is now for 10th position. Sula still trying to hold on, and Dinder suddenly up the inside of Maisie back there on the second chicane. Out of nowhere, suddenly deciding to get in the action after just holding off for quite a while. Is Maisie gonna try and be brave? He is indeed! These BMW M3s are very, very feisty today. And Maisie, though, unfortunately for him, has had to kind of say goodbye to that position, or has he,
Got a good
Yorkie?
run.
He's got a
He's
good run now.
got a good run coming out the exit of the second one. Yeah, that all stemmed from Maisie outbraking himself slightly with without the ABS and going into the side of Sula. Imagine he let Sula go back through coming out the exit of the first chicane. Basically just lifted off the throttle a little bit. But Dinder was pretty much right there as the two guys were battling through that first turn. Allowed him to close right up onto the back. And then when he was coming out the exit of that, he basically just followed Sula around the outside to give him the inside for the second chicane. So very well read there by Dinder to capitalise on that and gain himself the position. Maisie is looking very, very close to the back of the McLaren ball now.
Whoa, that's a very different
pretty
point.
wide, yeah, out quite wide there through the parabolica, but now he's tucked back over to pick up the slipstream off Dinder. Does he have the straight line speed over? The McLaren's pulling out the slipstream now. This is where the aero will balance out, and it looked like that Dinder was slightly later on the brakes there. Very neat and tidy through the chicane, and now getting on the power out through the exit of that. Has pulled himself a couple of car lengths out over Maisie just in that first chicane, those first couple of corners.
Yeah. The tricky traction zone to get right, but Dinder suddenly did well on the... Oh my word, that surely is a back marker, is it? Or is that actual... Oh, that's Rhaegar. Haven't made a mistake, has it?
I think so. Blue Rat's in 7th, and Jellyfish isn't too far ahead in 6th. So I think these guys may have been having a little bit of a battle as well.
Interesting. I just can't seem to remember what order they were in before, but maybe it wasn't.
Rhaegar was ahead of both drivers.
Yeah, that's why. That's kind of why I thought he might have had a bit of an issue somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's dropped 2 positions, has Rhaegar down to 8th again. From 6th, Blue Rat then back up to 7th, which, Jesus Christ, Blue Rat's having a stormer by his standards. I don't know, certainly this season so far, he's not been in the top 10. Quickly gonna check if he had a top 10 last season, which he did not. He had 2 11th places, which were his best last season. So, Blue Rat's looking so good for his first ever top 10 finish in the league. Currently trying to hold on for 7th position from Rhaegar, though, who surely has a good run, both in the same car, of course, maybe some differing on the setup, but Rhaegar gaining the advantage with the slipstream down the straight, and now has the inside line later on the brakes as well. Blue Rat backing out of it. You let him go. So still up, 8th position, strong for him. Can he get a good enough exit to challenge him back coming out towards the second chicane? I feel like it's maybe a little bit too far back, but maybe the slipstream could just pull him closer towards the corner. Not quite, Blue Rat. Still there. I'm gonna quickly check on the leaders again, because I checked a couple of laps ago, they had basically identical previous lap times at that point. The 3 cars head here in the race, and I don't think the gap between Papan and Kaki has really changed too much. Let's see their lap times now. This lap that has just finished, Papan with a 44.8. Kaki's closed, actually. He has closed by 3/10, 44.5, and Kanuma at 45.0. So it does look like Kanuma might just have ceased to defeat, if that's a word that you can say. He seems to be a bit too far back now and isn't really closing anymore like he was before. I think, Yorkie, we're down to 2-way battle for the lead in this race.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling that the tyres may have just started to go away from Kanuma. Obviously, he probably would have wanted to have done what Kaki did, i.e. do exactly the same strategy to try and give him the best chance, because obviously if he dived into the pits, it probably would have taken him out of track position. And Kaki in the McLaren, which is a little bit easier on the tyres than the Aston Martin, knew that as well. I was probably thinking that he wants to stay out for the entire duration of the race and kind of force Kanuma's hand.
Yeah.
In that sense, but yeah, judging by the lap times, Kanuma has been in the 145s the last few laps from what I have seen, just taking the odd glance here or there, whereas Papan and Kaki have been staying in those high 44s.
indeed. And it's very interesting to see as Papan throws the leaves into Kaki's face there on the exit of Parabolica. Very interesting to see what the gap will be now in terms of the lap time. Let's have a look. And wow! I did think Kaki was closing the gap, and he has closed it by 8 tenths on that one lap. He's decided to put his foot down and decide that enough is enough. I've not had a win. Actually, he did win 2 races ago, but he's only okay. Let's rephrase that. He's only had 1 win in 4 races, which is you know, unusual for him, given his first 5 races in the season. So now he might just be taking matters into his own hands as he basically jumps that sausage on the second chicane. But now it's a right wheel-to-wheel battle about to come on AOR, because Kaki is right there now. He's gonna have the slipstream next time they're going down the main straight.
Yeah, he's very, very close, and Kaki's kind of kept his pace fairly consistent the last few laps. You know, it was only a couple of tenths quicker than he was on the previous lap, but it was Papan that dropped off in pace, popping over the 145 mark, and you can see gap has visually closed quite a lot, although Kaki seemed to be a little bit loose there going through a sky, which will affect him coming down this straight here. Gap has eked out just a tiny little bit, but Kaki seems to have the slipstream and have a tidy run through the Parabolica here and then out the exit and onto the start-finish straight. He was very, very quick through that first chicane and closed up an awful lot of ground on Papan on the previous lap. So we'll see if he does that again.
Yep, second half of the lap hasn't gone quite for him though.
No,
it was closer in the middle part.
Yeah, definitely. It was right underneath the rear wing of Papan going through the Lesmos, but he's dropped off quite a lot. Watching him here come through that first chicane. And it looks like the gap has closed up visually a little bit. So it seems like Kaki's stronger in the first half of the lap. Although he seemed to have made a mistake through Ascari, so we're not too sure what his second half of the lap is like compared to Papan.
Indeed. And of course, we only have 7 laps to go in the race. And I guess worth mentioning the championship situation. As it stands, Kaki would not secure the championship here today because of Kanuma in 3rd place. Kaki needs to score 16 points more than Kanuma here in order to make it a guarantee for him to win it before the last 2 races. But of course, as it stands, he will extend the gap from 57 to 60 points to Kanuma. So of course, 60-point gap into the final 2 races. That's nearly guaranteed, you would think, but you never quite know. Disconnections can happen, incidents can happen, everything can still happen as Kaki is getting so close to Papan now on the exit. Surely he's going to have a run towards Parabolica. Is Papan going to feel the need to go defensive? He probably is, because Kaki is visually closing and Papan staying on that inside line coming towards Parabolica. Is Kaki going to try and be brave or hold it out until the straight? He's slotting back in for now, getting so close to the rear bumper of that roof there. Coming on to the main straight to start the 6th from last lap in the race. And here we go. Kaki for the lead of the race. He managed to pass Kanuma for a second earlier on. And now finally has closed the gap to Papano, who again decided to go defensive, but very good on the brakes. So Kaki's not managed to get properly alongside. And Papan really is going to do everything he can to hold on to this position. He's not won a race this season. He can win it today. Got it stolen away from him by a fuel tank as a Kito, of course. And now he has a chance, but he has to hold off the championship leader, of course. And that is not going to be an easy task for him. But can he do it, Yorkie, here in the last 6 laps?
I don't know. 6 laps is quite a big ask, and I was just watching Kaki's drive coming out of that first chicane, and it seemed like he's got a fair bit more traction than Papan does at this current stage of the race. Obviously, like we saw earlier, Kaki seemed to be a little bit more preservative with his tyres, whereas Papan, although he was running in very clear air, did have Kanuma trying to get past him various points, various stages of this race, and that would have affected his tyre wear, as he probably would have been pushing a little bit harder than he would have liked to He had the full width of the track to play with himself. It's Kaki climbing up all over the curb there, coming out the exit of Ascari chicane. Kanuma not really anywhere to be seen now as he's dropped off quite far back, but Papan, Papan going defensive, coming into the Parabolica. This will surely give Kaki a better run coming out the exit, tucking up underneath the rear wing, taking a slightly shorter route, and now he's very close to the back of Papan. Yep, he's going to be picking up the slipstream all the way along this back straight, but Papan's showing pretty good speed so far. Papan moving defensive for this first chicane. Kaki forced to the outside, both of them braking pretty late, getting very close together there. Kaki almost tried to hold it around the outside, but not quite. Papan just about managed to eke out a car length to pop back in front of Kaki and take the apex for the second part, which is denying Kaki once again for one more lap that first position that we can see here so desperately to try and take.
And oh my goodness, has Kaki completely messed up the second chicane there. He's gone well off the track. Papan did manage to make the corner. Surely Kaki's going to have a cut track penalty there as well. That could just be the end of that battle. Kaki has messed up the second chicane, potentially gifted the win to Papan if he has managed to get his fuel calculations right this time. And that is a big mistake from the championship leader. After putting so much work into closing that gap down, spent pretty much half the race to do it, finally got it down and was challenging him. One little slip of concentration potentially there in the braking zone, braking just a tiny bit too late, having to take off the track to avoid hitting Papan in the back, and again now struggling for grip through Ascari. That, it could be the deciding, surely will be the deciding moment in the race, with Kaki surprisingly messing that one up, and now it's in Papan's hands to just bring this home in the final 4 laps of the race.
Yeah, that was very close there between Kaki and Papan as well. I think, like you were saying, Kaki probably just braked a tiny little bit too late there, and in the dirty air of Papan, the brakes probably wouldn't be working as well as he would have hoped. And he did the right thing, which is to go straight on in order to avoid making contact with Papan, because if he did just try turning in to make the corner, he would have gone straight into the back of the roof in front of him. So he avoided the contact. It didn't look like he got the cut track penalty. I think he slowed down enough over the curbs on the inside there and rejoined at a slow enough speed to basically negate that. But as we've seen, he's gone and lost an awful lot of time to Papan in front of him. So Papan now just needs to keep his cool, and he should hopefully have this one in the bag. Kaki is probably going to be a little bit frustrated with that mistake. Numa is still there lurking in the background. His lap times have dropped above the 145 mark, although Papan was at 146 on the previous lap. Kaki at 149. And then take a look at
Rhaegor's out of the race.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, it seems like it. He is nowhere to be seen.
He is in the pits, yeah, you're correct.
So we have Maisie now in 9th, Andrex in 10th with some damage there. And then Centro in 11th. That would be a good result for the Mercedes AMG boys, even though he was running slightly higher at the start of the race. But some well and much needed points for them. Soul has dropped to 12th. Was that... Did we see that?
No, we didn't see that.
Okay. So something's happened to Sula.
Yeah, happened somewhere along the line. Off track. He's got a little bit of damage there to the front of his car. Like you said, Andrax has got an awful lot of damage on the front of his BMW. The lights are actually rather wonky. Skew with.
Wonky.
Yeah, wonky. It's a word, trust me.
Really wonky.
Yep.
And Ycoms somehow, after being way back in the, some stages of the race, where are the points? He's suddenly in the points because of these retirements that have happened. Only 14 cars out on track at the moment, which is we're having more DNFs here than we had in Bathurst, which is surprising, considering the natures of the track. Yeah,
I'm just watching Dinder at the moment, closing up on the back of Blue Rat. This seems to be the closest battle between any of the drivers. Moment as everyone else is
Oh!
spread out.
Yeah, pretty much.
They came close.
They
came
did
close, was that?
come close. Didn't
Okay.
almost look like it was going to dive bomb into Parabolica there. I think he's lagging ever so slightly, but he managed to back out of it, luckily, just stamping on the brakes right at the end. He's surely going to have some nice slipstream though. We can just see from the bumper camera that he's edging tiny bit closer, and Blue Rat's going to want to defend this. He wants as good a position as he can get. And they're going to be side by side. Will they be able to leave each other enough room? Blue Rat does well. Jinder does well. Can Blue Rat get a better exit? He was slightly off the track there with a part of his car. And I think Jinder has got this covered now. Shoving Blue Rat down to 8th once again. So Jinder might have had that battle won. We've got 2.5 laps to go for these guys. I assume the leaders will probably be starting the second to last lap around about now. As Jinder squirming a lot on the exit of the second chicane. But I think he's got that one covered for now. So let's quickly see. Has Kaki maybe? Has he closed a little bit again? He has closed 1.1 second on the previous lap.
Oh, wow.
So Kaki is not giving up on this one. It's only 2 laps more though. And what are we going to say the gap is? Probably 2 seconds? If he closes with the same amount on those 2 laps.
Seconds at the moment.
2.5 seconds. Okay, so he needs to close slightly faster than what he did on the previous lap. And if he does, we could have side by side across the line theoretically, but of course Papan will not want to make that happen easily at all. But Yoki, we never go. I was thinking it was going to be a little bit anticlimactic here, but now Kaki has give me hope that we might have a grandstand finish.
Yep, this is going to be. Oh, this is going to be interesting. We could see him closing up constantly. I imagine Papan could probably really start to feel the pressure now.
Look at this! Look at the speed difference!
Is right underneath the rear wing of Papan now. Is closed right up onto the back of him through Ascari. Kind of had to back out of it a little bit there through the mid.
He's didn't expect him to go that slow, I think.
Three-part chicane, yeah, and has lost a little bit of ground there. But hopefully, this is just Papan struggling a little bit on tyres and not trying to conserve fuel for that last lap. Coming up now, the Parabolica.
I doubt he's thinking too much about the fuel right now. It's more the tyres that would be the issue, and of course he's thinking mainly about how on earth can he defend for this final lap from Kaki.
Yep. It looks like he's got just about enough of a gap coming down into the first turn. He's got Marco Van Drex up in front of him, a little bit of contact there between Kaki and Papan. Kaki giving Papan a little bit of a bump, but Kaki looks like he's backed out of it a little bit there.
Given the space that he needs, that might just be what Papan needs with the worst of tyres, what it seems anyway. That little gap, and again Kaki just too late on the brakes. Or maybe Papan is braking earlier than we would anticipate, but even so, it would be, oh my god, please don't have more back market problems for Papan. There we go, okay, he gets out of the way. That would be Andrex there, with only one headlight working as well. Of course, Akito back at round 2. Papan didn't only have fuel issues, he also had back marker issues when that one happened. But now, Yorkie, we got less than half a lap to go with Kaki. About half a second behind. This is going to be over surely, or is it?
It's going to be tough. It really depends on how bad Papan's tyres are as they come into Ascari. We saw him close up an awful lot. And once again, it seems that Papan's really slow through the mid.
Oh my god!
There. It's giving Kaki a pretty good run coming out the exit. This is going to be a last corner and pretty much a last drag race down to the start.
It's the last chance now for Kaki. He needs to get this exit spot on. That's what he can do. Will he do it? Here we go. Papan slightly tighter on the entry. Kaki just doing what he can to get as early as possible on the throttle and exit. Can he grab enough slipstream now towards the line? It's this drag race to the line. Kaki on the back foot. Surely is not going to do it.
He's not going to do it.
Here we go, across the line. Papan's going to win his first race of the season. Incredible drive for him. Held on from Kaki in the end, who had the pace but didn't manage to be consistent enough to make it work for him in that battle. And Kaki has to settle for second place. And with Kanuma finishing third, Kaki still hasn't theoretically won the championship. We have got TonyR, who's going to come across the line in fourth, even though he says he's sixth. And then we have Gronstra, who's going to finish fifth. He, of course, was very close with Kaki, Kanuma, and Papan at the first couple of laps, but then, well, actually, first 2 corners, I guess. And then had that mistake on the second chicane, which has hurt him ever since, finishing 5th here for Gronstra. Jellyfish is going to be 6th place, finally breaking away from that massive mid-pack fight that we had going on. Dinda's going to be 7th, and Blue Rat's dropped behind Maisie for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is going to put him in 9th, but still though for Blue Rat, it's going to be his first ever top 10 in the PC GT3 Elite League. Pretty sure he's had better results than that on the PlayStation 4 in the past, which he raced on in the first few seasons. I believe anyway. But now, it looked to be pretty slow there on exit, but he's just taking it easy. So Blue Rat's going to finish 9th here, his best result in the league. Sula is going to take the final top 10 position, which is also interesting considering it was 12th just a few moments ago. Okay, so Centra's gonna be 11th, and that's it. Is there no one else? I guess actually, yeah, the rest have been lapped.
Freda?
Yeah, the rest have been lapped.
I've got. Okay.
There we go. We have, I think.
Yep.
Andrik's in 12th for some reason.
That is correct. Yeah, Andrik's got lapped by Papan and Kaki, which we saw on camera. It was the BMW who moved out of the way just before the first Lesmos and, yeah, going across the line in 12th place. Oh man.
Yes.
That was eventful.
It really was. It was good action throughout most of the race. A few small, kind of silent periods. But we had a fight for the lead, like a proper fight for the lead. Not only at the end, but also in the middle part when there was a 3-way scrap with Kanuma also involved. And that was fantastic to see. It's not always we get treated to fights right up towards the front. It's usually always midfield battles, but great to see a fight for the lead with Papan really, really impressively holding on all a race, just not letting anyone get ahead of him, despite Kanuma having his chances, Kaki having his chances. Papan just wouldn't let it happen, and he wins his first race of the season. Surely we're going to grab an interview with him very soon. Kaki there, and Kanuma running up the podium, of course, and Kaki extending the gap in the championship to Kanuma to 60 points, which means that he has not won it yet, but there's still 72 points theoretically up for grabs in the final 2 races. If Kanuma get the pole and win in both of those, they could theoretically end up with the maximum 72 points. And of course, then if Kaki has some major problems, some incidents happening, some disconnection problems, whatever, that leads him to just basically not score any points at all, then there's still a chance, even if it's only a small one.
Trying to read through the comments.
Papan! Sorry, I couldn't cut you off, but Papan's in here! He's in the commentary box!
Hello!
You won the race for the first time this season. Incredible defensive drive from you, even though it looked like you were struggling so much on the tires at the end. How was that race?
It was tough. It was 35 laps of defending. Both Kaki and Kanuma, they had the pace on me, really. I had good exits, and I tried to get good exits every time to make sure they couldn't pass on the coming straight. So, but that was a tough one, and the last 5 laps, the tires were just totally gone.
Really did look like it. But somehow we managed to hold on. It did look like Kaki made a couple of mistakes on the braking. Obviously, one where he nearly hit you at the second chicane had to go wide.
Yeah, he called it out on TeamSpeak before hitting me, so I could avoid him. So that was nice of him. But it was close racing, a little bit of rubbing. But it was very respectful from both Kanuma and Kaki. So it was good. I think they could have been a little bit more aggressive on me and made the pass on a couple of chances there. But yeah, in the end I held on. That was nice. I really struggled, and then in the second chicane with that high curb on the entry, when you hit that with the roof, it just launches in the air.
Yeah, that's not ideal, obviously. And Yoki, if you have any questions you want to add.
Firstly, congratulations on your first win of the season. Very pleased with that. What was I going to ask?
How was the fuel situation?
I
guess that's one question.
We did a test yesterday in the social, and I even added 5 liters today, so I was sure.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, just to make sure. Yeah.
Yep. That's
wouldn't
good.
end up in that situation again.
Yeah. How did you feel the rough was in terms of straight line pace? I mean, it looked like you had a pretty similar pace to Kaki on the straights.
Yeah,
Kanuma obviously had the advantage in the Aston Martin.
Yeah. Obviously, Kanuma really had the pace on both me and Kaki on the straights, and especially the last corner before the straight, he seems to be quite fast. But it was really on the exit of the corner that I could give myself a little bit of a gap, because both Kanuma and Kaki seemed to have the edge of me. Kaki in the braking and Kanuma on the straights, so it was very important for me to keep that 1.5 second gap to Kaki, so he couldn't get into the slipstream. When I made that little mistake and he got within the 1 second, it was just a big heat from there.
I can imagine. It certainly seemed like the pressure was on, especially in the last few laps. But you held your nerve. You managed to get the win in the end, and it was a very, very solid drive by yourself. Obviously, fantastic pace in qualifying. Got the pole there, and then pretty much flawless, apart from the odd small mistake here and there, and got the win.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think the pole lap. We got a really good cooperation. Those roof guys, so I got some tips from Blue Rat and Rhaegar to change a little bit on the suspension, and it gave a few tenths. So that's where that pole lap came from. It's the best time I did, so that was really nice. On race pace, I was a little bit too slow compared to Kaki and Kanuma, but tried to keep stable. But I was very thrilled with that, and nervous on the 5 final laps, and probably a little bit too cautious, but didn't want to crash it out in the end. It was close call a couple of times.
Yeah, well, it clearly worked out for you, so I guess all we can really say is congrats and really, really well done. First win of the season.
Thank you very much.
Do you think you can challenge in the final 2 races at Hockenheim and whatever we got after that?
Yeah, I think we have Hockenheim and Sonoma, and I think Sonoma is really good for me. That's one of the tracks that I hoped before the season that I could challenge for a win. A little bit more unsure about Hockenheim. I think I have the 1 lap pace on Hockenheim, but I struggle a little bit more with the race pace because of you again have these high curves on Hockenheim, and you need to take some risk in the roof with that. So yeah, didn't expect to win Monza, I would say. This wasn't really a track I thought I could win on, but that was nice to get this little bit of a surprise win. Yeah.
Well, man, well done again, and I guess we'll see you next week in Hockenheim.
Thank you very much, and see you all next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Okie dokie. We're still sticking with the top 3 interviews. The podium interviews.
Let's do it. Kaki's always enthusiastic, so I imagine he'll be pretty happy with 2nd place.
Will he though? We'll see. Kaki. Yoki just speculated that he might be happy with 2nd place. Will you be happy with 2nd place?
Absolutely, I am.
Oh, okay.
Hey!
Yoki was right!
Well, actually, if I didn't make these little minor mistakes, I could possibly win this, but come on, this race was so intense and so fun. It was amazing.
See, I told you he would be enthusiastic. He's always really enthusiastic. Which is why it's good having Kaki in. But yeah, it was really quite interesting to watch you drive throughout the various stages in that race. You talk us through basically from start to finish what your plan was and what you kind of did, because it looked like you were doing a little bit of tyre preservation at the start. You're kind of just holding your ground to Kanuma and Papan and letting them kind of battle until you basically got right up underneath both their rear wings.
Yeah, I missed my start because I don't know, I sleep or something, because even Gronstra passed me on the start and I get a little bump from him and got some aero damage. So actually I was pretty much slower than Kanuma and Papan. I was losing so much time on the straights compared to Kanuma because of the V12,
Yep.
But actually I did manage to catch them. The race between me, Papan and Kanuma was absolutely awesome. It was so intense. There was a little contact between me and Kanuma a little bit suffered from this. Got about 5% aero damage. And later he did some little mistakes, so the gap increased between me and him, and I could try to catch Papens, and that what started this. Yeah, the fun started. It was absolutely awesome when we finally met between us. Yeah, it was so close, but oh my god, I missed some breaking points.
We did see that. We did see that. He looked pretty close that time with the second chicane.
2 or 3 last laps, I think Pepent got his tires really worn off.
Yeah.
So I could really close the gap, 3-second gap. I was able to close that gap, but I couldn't pass him on the end. McLaren was suffering on this race.
I was like, with 2 laps to go, you had a 2.5 second gap, and I was like,
yeah,
oh,
exactly.
if it's really fast, he might just catch him by the end of the race, and then you caught him in like 3 corners.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Papant was losing so much time at the end. So style must be mastered. So that's not the correct word.
Well, he was definitely struggling with the tires, and
yeah.
Well, I guess we got to give props to him as well for the defending he did, because while Kanuma might have been faster, he just seemed to put his car in all the right places.
Yeah, his pace was great, and Papant's pace was great.
But what more can we say? You are nearly there in terms of the championship. You have a 60-point gap to Kanuma with 2 rounds to go. It's 72 more points theoretically on the table.
Great to hear.
Yeah, good for you. You could very well win it in Hockenheim next time out, unless you have a mare.
Actually, I wasn't looking forward for this race because Monza isn't really interesting track for me. But actually, it was the best race of this season. The most intense, the closest one. It was great.
It really was. Great to see a proper battle for the lead, which you guys obviously provided. So, of course, what we will be hoping, as a spectator's point of view, is that we'll see some more of that in the last 2.
Yeah, I will definitely watch the stream after this.
That's good. All right, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah, definitely is. But yeah, could win the championship next time. So I guess all we can say is well done today and good luck for the last 2 races.
Thank you, guys.
All right, man. See you later.
Yeah.
See ya.
That's
So, are we gonna get Mr. Kanuma in then for the final podium spot?
Is he there?
He is there. Kanuma.
Yes, I'm there.
Hello.
How are you feeling, man? What a battle in the lead. It didn't quite work out for you in the end against Papan and Kaki, but man, what a race. And how are you feeling?
Great. Definitely, but a bit disappointed maybe, because I had probably the fastest car on this track. But only P3, but still it's P3. And it was great. The start, I had a good start. And already passed Kaki, but then I was stuck behind Papant in the dirty air, and it was so difficult to hold the car on the corners, especially the fast one and the last one.
Yeah.
It was a fight for 10 laps.
It did seem like it. Yeah, I mean, it was such a close battle. I mean, you finally got to battle Kaki, which is of course something already at the first race. You said, "Wow, I really want to be having a proper battle with Kaki this season," and you did get one.
Yeah, it was great. Really, I had my fun until the point where we crashed a little bit.
Yeah.
But he maybe run a bit wide there, but also Project Cars had some magnetic effect, pushed me a bit outside. But it was okay. It was fighting. We're here for racing and not for not touching.
Yeah, there was a very, very intense battle to watch. How did you feel your car was in terms of setup and pace? I mean, the straight line speed was obvious. You had the advantage there, but I picked up on you're braking a little bit earlier than the other guys, and you also seemed a little bit slower on the apex of the first chicane. Is that?
Yeah,
you kind of
Aston really struggles to accelerate in the first gear. There is definitely an advantage for the rough. And Papant also, he made it just great. He was defending and I tried to overtake, showed myself in the mirror a bit. but it was still too risky because I wasn't that close to start an overtake. Once I was able to start the overtakes, Kaki was already pushing from behind because both of us cost some time.
Yeah. Well, what a race, and of course you are now the only man, theoretically, with a chance of the championship who isn't Kaki. Gap 60 points. You know, you got to take a bit of help from Kaki to make that happen, but never say never, right?
Let's be honest, he either needs DC or the last place, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna win this.
I think most people are, but you know, we're not going to rule it out until it's all settled, because obviously we saw him disconnect last time, of course, so you never quite know. But yeah, it's been nice to see you back in the podium at least, you know, after a few struggling races.
Back.
Yeah,
after
you're
the
back.
terrible races in the past. All right.
Backman. Well, hopefully you're going to be continuing the being back in the final 2 races and make some more great races for us.
Yeah, next track will be Hockenheim, and I think there could also be a podium possible.
Well, let's wait and see, and good luck.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening.
Yeah, see you, man.
Thank you.
Cool. All the top 3 seem pretty happy today. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. But Yoki, it's been a great evening for racing in Monza. Certainly better than the real life F1 race a few weeks ago.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. And Hockenheim next, as we mentioned. Anything else to really say?
Not really, other than plug and sell ourselves with our YouTube and Twitter channels.
Sure, yeah, obviously.
I think that's about it. But yeah, really good race. Thoroughly enjoyed watching that one and commentating it. Good action all the way through, and that's what I love about the online racing leagues. Good stuff. It's good action all the way through. There's always battles to watch.
This is why we love them, of course, when it's close competitive battles like this. That is what we live for in AOR as well. And yeah, in terms of YouTube, there's more racing action to be found in the meantime. If you can't wait for next week and you just need to get some more racing action on your screens, then you can go on YouTube, either on my channel at AOR Fizzy or on Yorkie's channel at Yorkie065. And there's a bit more racing for you to enjoy, hopefully.
Just uploaded Le Mans today as well.
Ooh.
An hour and a half of trackside footage that I caught at the event. It was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
Basically just showing all the best bits.
Yeah, I saw some
somehow
clips
managed
on Twitter on that. That is absolutely amazing, some of those clips you're taking.
Yeah, I know it's an hour and a half long, but definitely going to try and sit down and watch it, especially even if it's in chunks, like on the lunch break or something like that, half an hour.
If nothing else, just watching
it's
for the
well worth.
Amazing sounds of the cars.
Oh yeah, the sounds, the sights, some of the stuff that I managed to get was absolutely incredible, especially at night. But yeah, there's a few crashes in the video as well, which I managed to capture, and the odd funny moment, but it is mostly the sights and the sounds of the cars. Good.
Indeed. So, do that. Watch that on Yorkie065 on YouTube. But of course, we thank you all who have been following this race. We hope you have enjoyed the action today and that we will be back for next week at Hockenheim. Round 11, only 2 rounds to go in the season. And yeah, hopefully more great racing to be had. So again, thank you all for joining us. I've been Fizzy, Yorkie's been Yorkie. And we will see you again at Hockenheim next time, same time, 8 PM UK time, Wednesday night, for more racing. See you then, goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye.